Hello and welcome to an honest review. If you are looking to buy a coach-built motorhome and you're wondering whether this might be the right choice for you, then here are a few things that I've learned from owning one for the last 11 months and having had, I must say, an absolutely fantastic time doing so. Now, something to bear in mind. Are you going to be keeping this at home on your drive, or are you going to be storing it somewhere in a storage compound? Now, for me, having it on the drive was priceless. It was part of what I wanted. The ability to just load things straight into your van when you're going anywhere, whether it's just out and about for a day out or a little bit longer holiday. You can bring your towels, your clothes, your pants, your socks, all those sorts of things, shower gel, food, everything. You put it straight in the vehicle. It's exactly where it's going to be when you arrive the other end. There's no suitcases, there's no boxes, there's no packing. The only thing is, that only works if it's on your drive. Otherwise, you've got to load all the stuff in the car, drive the car to the storage compound, load all the stuff in, and there's just something a little tiny bit more cumbersome, I thought, which is why, for me, I wanted it at home. There does, however, come a slight consideration that you have to bear in mind, and that is it going to fit not only on your drive, but are you going to have the maneuverability to get on and off? Now, there is a wall the other side of here and a hedge there, and this motorhome, 7.35 metres long, pretty much exactly fits on our property. Now, we're quite fortunate that we've got very good neighbours both sides, and so we can shimmy across if we need to, we can steer around the hedge, we can reverse back a little bit over. It's just something to bear in mind that it's not just about the footprint, it's allowing a little bit of extra space either side to manoeuvre on and off. It's surprising how much it takes, particularly when you bear in mind that the wheels on a car are usually at the back of the vehicle. On this, there's a good 2 metres. That gives a little tiny bit of swing, so when you're pulling on and off the other side of the vehicle, it's going to kick out. It would be a very, very expensive mistake to take the neighbour's wall out. There are many different styles of motorhome, and we'll have a look inside in just a moment, but the garage, which can be a little misleading, doesn't actually park a vehicle in, as you probably guessed. It is a nice access point, so you can get chairs and wires and things in and out. They do come in different shapes and sizes. Some you can actually open the doors up, you can walk all the way through, you can put a bike in there, you can store things. This is very much an under the bed storage, just to put a chair or two. Bike racks, invaluable. They don't always come as standard, you often have to have them fitted, but bearing in mind that when you're going to be going places, you're not always going to be able to park this thing exactly where you want to. Having a bike rack means you can take a bike or 2 or 3 or 4 in this case. You can park a mile away, half a mile away, somewhere more convenient, and you can cycle in. Bikes aren't for everyone, but it's nice to have it there as an option just in case. Also, I think helps maintain a little bit of value if you want to sell this and move on to something else. Now, something else just to bear in mind, when you are parking this at a supermarket or in a town centre, you need not only 2 marked out bays, front and back because of the length, but also a bit of room to the side. Whenever I take this anywhere and park in a big car park, first of all, make sure there's not an AMPR or a warden-based control system that are going to fine you for parking over the lines, because you're not going to fit this in one bay. Also, you must be, I think anyway, at the edge, at the side, or directly opposite your exit route. Always think about not just getting in, but getting out. So I always make sure that this is either pointing straight at the exit, or pointing straight at the exit, should I say, or you can reverse out and then turn, or you're on the edge, so you've got a little bit of shimmying space. Just think to bear in mind. So just something else to be aware of, and that is that the taps for draining the fresh water and the wastewater are fitted underneath. Now, in most cases, you can get where you need to go perfectly level and flat, and you never have to think about that. But if you are going over rough or uneven terrain, and I actually took mine off the other side, coming out of a campsite, any sort of rough terrain where there's higgledy-piggledy and bumpety-nuss, it's very easy to take those off. And it's a day and a half's work if you're trying to repair it yourself afterwards. So the best bit of motorhome ownership is being able to sit in your little lounge. Now, I use this as an everyday vehicle. I run a number of businesses, and so for me, this is my mobile office. It's also a place that I spend contact time with my children, and it's just a great adventure vehicle. But having somewhere to sit that's permanently made up as a nice sofa, I think it's just one of those things that makes it. Now, driving one of these vehicles is, to bear in mind, it is bigger than a car, as I've already mentioned. But the wonderful, wonderful thing, you can move from your driving seat into the back, and even the slightly overweight of us, there's no scrabbling. And I think that that, for me, of anything that defines a motorhome, that's one of them. But having a motorhome, for me, compared to a panel van conversion or the micro camper or the Nissan Elgrand that I previously had, is that when you arrive wherever you're going, as I've already mentioned, everything is away in its storage lockers. It's all ready to go. You don't have to unpack or set anything up. There is an awning on the outside of this one which you can wind away. That's it. That's the only thing you have to set up. You pull up, the handbrake on, ignition key off, you're there. Now, when we were looking at motorhomes, we opted for a fixed bed. Now, you can get them where you make the bed up, so you've got an extra sofa or a dinette or what have you. But for me, having the fixed bed was very important. I wanted to be able to pull up from adventures wherever I happened to be and know that the bed was all ready. Now, it's not made up at the moment, and quite deliberately, so I can show you something. There's loads of space here, and the bed, as you probably noticed, isn't quite long enough to accommodate you. Oh, a little bit of foot dangling there. So the bed is made up under normal circumstances, and when you arrive, I know I said that it was all ready to go. It's very nearly. You literally pull this out, and then you drop this away, push it down, and you're all ready to go. When you're on board and you're out and about, you've reached wherever you're going, and it's cold in the middle of winter. If you're on a micro camper or a VW or even some panel vans, you need to start connecting heating systems. The thing I love about this, you can switch the gas on, and you literally press 2 buttons, and the central heating comes on. Job done. There's also hot water and all of your controls for here, your water pump, your power, and you can check how much power you've got left on your 12-volt battery and how much water is in your tank from there. Now, if you're intending to go off-grid in your motorhome, and for me that is part of the beauty of it, if you want to just go to a campsite and plug into the electric and plug a hose in the back, then that's fine. But if you want to go real adventuring, you want to be self-contained, self-sufficient. Water, there's a tank on board. Wastewater, there's a disposal tank on board that will store your water. And you have a 12-volt battery system which powers all of the lights and certain things within the camper. But the 3-pin electric sockets, they do not. They require that you are plugged in to electric hookup, the 240 system, which also powers the microwave, and this is a 3-way fridge, but if you want the electric fridge, you have to have it plugged in to the mains. However, if you are in a car park somewhere or out in the middle of a field, or you're just getting back to nature and you want that ability to be self-contained, then I heartily recommend one of these. This is not something that you get with the motorhome. So this particular one, the Afri 2000, I paid £1,000 for. But it will allow me to charge my laptop and run my devices pretty much for 4 or 5 days. And it also has solar top-up as well, so you can get a solar panel, you can plug it into there, and you can keep yourself topped up and charged and effectively be self-contained almost indefinitely. You will run out of water before you'll run out of electricity. Now, on the roof of this vehicle there is a small solar panel, and it's just good to top up that 12-volt battery because your taps, your ignition for the cooker, all of that sort of stuff, it does run off that 12-volt battery, the same as your lights. Now, I previously mentioned the heating. Something I should really have said is you can power it off gas or off the 240 volt if you're on site. So if you are plugged into a campsite somewhere, it's basically free. If you are running it off the gas, it just runs off your gas bottle. But you do also need the 12 volt battery to turn the fan, which then blows the hot air out through these. There's one there, there's one in the bathroom, and there's two under the bed. Now, I mentioned the bathroom. One of the other wonderful things about having a coach-built motorhome compared to a micro camper that I previously had, or my Nissan Elgrand, is that when you wake up in the morning, you get up, you flick the hot water on, and 20 minutes later, there's a lovely piping hot shower waiting for you. Let's take you in and show you. So, in here, you have not only your self-contained toilet, sink, mirror, hello, but you also have your shower. So lovely piping hot water can come out of there. You have a lovely shower. Now, the shower, as you can see, is a little tiny bit small. It is very important that you remember to open this afterwards, because any moisture that you have needs to evaporate somewhere. You've got these little cupboard spaces here, so you can put toothpaste and bits and pieces in there. And this shower curtain stops the water. It's all very ingeniously done, but this shower curtain just drops down, so it protects the toilet area from getting wet whilst you're showering. Then all this can drip away, and then if anyone else does need to use the loo afterwards, the loo isn't soaked. I thought that was quite well thought out. Now, it goes without saying that when you are taking one of these vehicles, there's going to be a few rattles. So I wedge things in everywhere. Towel to stop the glass rattling on there, and I've got these little sponge rollers. These are actually rollers from a painting roller, and they just stop this clattering and banging. Same with the sink. There's actually little rubber bungs on the sink, which are quite effective. So you can now pretty much cook a Sunday roast with 3 or 4 veg and wash up afterwards. And again, you're all beautifully self-contained. Now, you should also really bear in mind how many people you intend to move around in this thing. There are 2 seats fitted at the front, the driver and passenger. I can fit up to 4 people in this because there are separate belted seats underneath here. This also makes up as a double bed. And that, I think, is quite nice because you can have either a guest, or in this case, my son usually does a lot of travelling around with me, and this will be his bed that he will make up. So when we arrive on site, I can nip outside, I can put the awning up on the side, get the chairs out, he can make his bed up, and we're good to go within minutes. Now, I will be the first to admit that I love driving this thing. You have a lovely elevated driving position. You can see quite far into the distance. There is the slight downside that you get a lot more bugs splattering on your windscreen. You can't get away from that. And I have actually had a bird take the windscreen out. That was not a nice experience, and it possibly could be that I was just very, very unlucky, but you are far more susceptible because of the angle of the screen, similar to a van, rather than a car that is more led down. Now, a very good piece of equipment that this one has is a rear view mirror from the camera that's fitted on the back, and that is permanently on. It's not just a reversing camera, but you can constantly see what's going on all the time. Now, vans, as we know, usually have just the 2 mirrors on the side. There isn't a central mirror. The reason being, of course, there is no back window. Other things just to mention, if you are planning on cooking that roast dinner that I mentioned earlier on, do just bear in mind that it takes just a little tiny bit longer. camping is camping, even with a wonderful vehicle like this, and it does just take that little tiny bit longer. So it's then really a question of what you choose to carry with you. The great thing about having a large vehicle like this that's got all different cupboards is you can carry things like, as I have here, a printer, podcaster unit, sound recording equipment, and this one's a bit messy, so I apologise in advance, but we even have an Xbox, some headphones, controller, all sorts of things like that. So there we have it. An honest review. Would I buy one again? I most certainly would. This has given me some wonderful, great adventures, immense pleasure in a way that previous vehicles I've had, the Micro Camper and the Elgrand, although they were absolutely wonderful for what they were, there is the wonderful luxury of just being able to pull up, handbrake on, and 23 seconds later, everything is done and you can just sit and enjoy the scenery, whatever it is that you've gone to look at. Thank you very much indeed for watching this video. I do hope it has been of use to you. If you have any questions, please do pop them in the comments below. Feel free to contact me. Go to dailypilgrim.com where all of my contact details are. Feel free to get in touch. Thank you very much indeed for watching. Do consider subscribing if this has been useful to you. It really helps the channel. I'd like to say thank you very much for watching. Have a great rest of the day. Bye-bye for now.